And welcome to episode number 23, Ozheads Podcast. We're back from New Orleans. In
Yep.
fact, a week ago today is when I came back. So it's
Oh,
been
from
a
New Orleans.
long ass
Yeah.
week. Yeah,
But it was good.
very good.
It was, I thought, better show than the previous year in Vegas.
Significantly better
Like
than
you can
Vegas.
talk about like why, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it's probably like I mean, you tell me why you think it is. I mean, you've been going to these like for the last much longer than I have over the last 10 years.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, just stat wise, we wrote 37% more business, real talk. I mean, that's a number.
But why
Um,
do you think that is?
you know, I think attendance was up according to the
Mm-hmm.
PCA. There was more people there. One, two, it just felt more condensed. It didn't feel spread out like
I heard
Vegas.
it was spread out though.
That's what I heard too, but it
Yeah.
felt like very tight to me. I don't know. It felt like this show in particular was so much more rapid fire, busy, no break in the action than last year. Last year, like I had a chance to actually walk around the floor, see people, look at booths, this, that, and the other. And literally for 3 days, the one thing I saw was our booth and then the bathroom and then whatever was in between the two. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it was just like just constant bam, 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 bam.
When was it the previous year? Do you remember?
Last year, Vegas, you were there last year. It was,
Yeah, I'm wondering
it
what
was
the
in
dates
March.
March, and this is now
This was April. And then next
So,
year is back
end
in
of
New
April.
Orleans, end of
End of
April.
April.
End of April. And I'm sure when we go back to Vegas, it'll probably be March. So it's always going to be March, April from now until I think 2030. They pretty much have locked it in. So it's going to alternate 2 years Vegas, 2 years New Orleans, 2 years Vegas, New Orleans.
Do you think that people got more used to the time of year? Because the first year was like a kind of an abrupt change from July to March.
My theory is, yeah, there's a little bit of that, but I still think it's a seasonal business where like the Q1 is always tough because of the weather. So people don't
Mhm.
have as much, money built up to actually go deeper on the deals that they would in the summer. By summer, you've got some, golf is back in, people are outside, people are smoking. So I think it's a stronger time to do it in July personally.
I've heard devil's advocate from other people too, including retailers, saying that like, well, if you know that the show's coming up in March or April, then you prepare for it, and you have already like a strong fourth quarter because typically your fourth quarter is strong. And then you know to save those monies so that you're anticipating on spending it like in a March or April
Yeah.
kind of cadence. And I think that from like our end of it, you look at it like you get an additional kind of turn. You have products that are on the shelf. You have some activities and typically a slower time of the year from a sales standpoint. I've
think
heard it
that-
on both sides.
Yeah, there's definitely pros and cons to both.
Yeah.
I will say the weather was phenomenal.
Yeah, the
I
weather is
mean,
much better.
oh
Then you
my.
can do stuff outside.
Yeah.
Like they had an opening party outside, which I think that was very well received
Yeah.
because of the weather.
The weather was
You know?
beautiful. I enjoyed the morning walk and the afternoon walk to and from the hotel.
Yeah, it was easy.
It's great. And I just like New Orleans. It's just
New Orleans
cool.
is great.
It's a great
It's,
vibe.
it's easy, great
Such a-
vibe, laid back, not as kind of
And-
not as pressing as Vegas. Sometimes.
yeah, Vegas, you can't really walk. And you can, but it's like you walk like a mile to get from casino to casino. But in New
Mhm.
Orleans, you walk from block to block, and it's eye candy, like the exposed brick walls and this historic building, and then this is kind of cool, this bar here and this restaurant there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I loved it. It's a cool town.
So yeah, I mean, I feel like the people got used to the change of year. One, two. The other factor is they did it like 10 years in a row in Vegas.
Yeah, I'm burnt out
So
already.
the thing of it is that like, I don't know. I mean, to have a change is probably a good thing. So now
Mhm.
they're talking about doing like 2 years Vegas, 2 years New Orleans, that kind of thing. The other thing I'd say, honestly, is that like, part of the issue is that, I mean, there are industries that are bigger than the cigar industry, right? Tons
Oh,
of them,
hundreds.
right?
Yeah.
Yet, with our kind of footprint in the convention center, you want it to be kind of contiguous space. It's quite a lot. Like Nashville Convention Center,
Mhm.
I know the gentleman that runs it. He and I have been friends for a while now, and I asked him, "Can we have that convention in Nashville?" And he mentioned, "Well, they're LEED certified, so they get some benefits from being LEED. This apparently was LEED certified. Maybe
Yeah.
they'd had an exemption.
Right.
But even if we had that, he's like, well, the amount of contiguous space that the PCA is asking for, it's just, we don't have it. It'd have to be like two separate
Mm.
halls, which I understand why you don't want to do that. You want to keep it all together for sure.
Right.
But my question is, like, do all these booths need really that much space? Do you know what I mean? Like some of these, at some point in time, does it just become like, you know,
It's a pissing
too
match.
grandiose, or I want to, like, you know what I mean? Is it more about marketing than it is about
Oh,
sales after some
100%.
point in time?
I think I know that some of the large booths,
Mm-hmm.
some of those companies, it's more of a marketing expense than a revenue generator. They're actually going to lose money at the end of the 3 days for the most part, on the show, because you got to pay for, I don't know if people out there know, but you got to pay for the space, which is a large sum of money. It's well into the 5 figures, 6 figures if you're in one of those bigger booths. Then you got to pay for the drayage. You got to pay for the booth itself. You got to pay for the hotel, travel, air, all that, everything. It's a number. It's a big marketing
That goes
expense.
against my Armenian family instincts. Jono would be like, "What in God's name? How do they?"
The interesting contrast. A few years ago, I don't know if it was 2 or 3 years ago, but Caldwell came in. They literally just all they did was put up a card table and a couple of folding chairs, wrote orders, and then just dumped everything and like split and left a mess. And
That's
it's just
extreme on the other side.
it's extreme, but I mean, you kind of think about it from a P&L standpoint. I mean, it's a lower expense. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's fun. I mean, I'm not.
Well, if they went down on the hypothetically, if they charged more for booth space and they capped the booth size you could have within reason.
But do other industries do that though?
I don't know.
You know what I
They
mean?
can look and see what other industries do. Then they can fit it into more halls, and then maybe try to carve out an exemption because there's all this revenue that the cities get, and they could do it during this time of the year that might be appealing to them.
Or maybe we just change and say we don't need one large contiguous room. We can have it in 2 separate rooms. Here's A is these companies and B is these
Well,
companies.
they could do that too. I think that they did that. Didn't they do that a few times and like the feedback wasn't good on it? I don't know.
Yeah, you can't have everything.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
But it was still fun to be over there.
It was a good show.
It was a good vibe for sure. So
it was a good show, great city.
And we introduced new products.
We did very successfully, I might add. Actually, I think.
And I mean,
not to toot our own horn.
Yeah.
But yeah, they both went off good. We did on the Oz family side, we did Keratoba, and on the Crown Head side, we did Broadway, and then also unveiled a new look for Crown Heads going forward, which you're always nervous to see how that's going to be received, but knock on wood, I think it was very well received. So
it looked beautiful.
Yeah.
So talk about Broadway a bit. You talk about the genesis of that.
So Broadway is basically, it's just a play on words because it's Connecticut broadleaf. Yeah. I think Cole will drop in. I'm smoking this now. It's my first one since Friday, which it's only been 4 days. It's Connecticut broadleaf wrapper, so broadleaf, Broadway, and then we just kind of played on lower Broadway because it's our hometown in Nashville and has become a tourist destination around the world. So yeah, Broadway is made out of Naxa, Nicaraguan American Cigars SA. Our good friend Gustavo Cura, who we started working with a few years ago. We did an LE with him called Azul y Oro, and that kind of opened the door to do Le Patissier. And then now we're going to have Broadway with them. But Broadway will take place of Le Patissier because Le Patissier was also broadleaf, but we're rationalizing that and bringing out Broadway. 3 sizes, a little Robusto Extra, which is what I'm smoking. There's a 52 ring, 4 3/4, 52. An Epicure, 5.5, 56. And then a Toro, 6.5, 54. So.
And is it Broadway and just all Nicaraguan fillers, Nicaraguan binder? How would you describe the kind of
I think it's
body?
It's got a little bit more body than Le Patissier did, specifically because Le Patissier's blend had 2 Visos, 1 Ligero. This has 2 Ligeros, 1 Viso. 3 different regions from Nicaragua: Ometepe, Esteli, Jalapa. Jalapa gives that little sweetness. It's got a really cool floral vibe to it. I mean, it's a rich dessert-like cigar. For me, that's my thing. I didn't want to blend it to be like peppery and just, a blast of strength. It's rich, it's round, it's dessert-like quality. And we're also going to these cabinet boxes. save some space on the shelves. For instance, like La Imperiosa, you'll be able to fit like 2 facings where we used to have 1 facing because it was 2 rows of 10. Now it's 3 rows of 7. So,
And that's a rebrand on Imperiosa.
that's a rebrand. Yeah, this one. I think of all the rebrands that this one came out
really nice.
the prettiest. Just that dark wrapper, that Habano Oscuro with that light blue, just really popped.
Yeah.
So we did the rebrand initially in Imperiosa, Mil Diaz Maduro, and then obviously Broadway. And as we go on to the second half of 2025, we're going to roll other existing brands into it and rationalize other slower movers out of it.
Well, I thought that, yeah, they're beautiful. And also the fact that it all looks consistent with the CH in the middle.
That
crowned
hero
heads.
logo that we
Yeah.
talked about for a long time.
Mm-hmm. The crowned heads embossed in gold below it, and then the name of the blend. That makes a lot of sense. And they look different enough. You know what I mean? So it's
Totally.
like the same brand, but like different blends.
We have-
And Mil Diaz looked really good too.
We have to shout out our friend Juan Carlos Fondier, JC, who we worked with diligently for literally a year continually. And he just really hit it out of the park with this. So very grateful. This is Keratoba, though. Keratoba's kind of got a little fresh look for Oz family. And
Yeah, we wanted to make the Oz logo kind of prominent front and center, so that's why it's like, billboarded as it is. And we wanted to simplify the packaging so that when people look at it, because nowadays, people don't have time, they're distracted, they're on their phone, they walk into a humidor, you want to hit them right away with what it is. And also we wanted to make the blend one that was, medium full, maybe more on like.
I love the blend, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Love the blend.
I thought it was really, good too, and there was fun stories that went behind the blend. But it's got a Sumatra seed, Ecuador wrapper, and so the name Keratoba. I wanted to call it black because the very first CAO was CAO black.
Right. I remember
this one, remember you designed a hat that was like black with the gold logo, and that like people really liked that, and that really kind of popped, and in 1 second you knew what the brand was. So I thought that was the right kind of direction to go with this. But since it was predominantly black, we're like, well, let's call it black. But then I was traveling, doing all these events. Particularly, I remember I was in Texas, and with Brian McGee, and I saw like a painting in one of these stores that had like it might have been like Hoya Black or something.
Okay. It
said Hoya Black. And then I kept seeing black on a bunch
everything.
of different like brands. And I was like, well, this is going to be like kind of not unique.
Right.
There's too many blacks on the market. So I was like, well, and I remember I was texting with JC afterwards saying like, we can't call it black. There's too many blacks on here. And so we did a little bit of like, Googling, and we found that Kara is a Turkish word. It's actually pronounced Kara in Turkish, means black.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a Lake Toba in Sumatra. It's the most volcanic lake in the world. And I thought that was interesting because there's so much of the tobacco that's in here is coming from like volcanic soils. So then why not, even though like, Sumatra seed, we're not using any like Sumatra grown tobaccos in here. So what if you took those two names and put them together? A lot of it is like, you want it to be easy for people to say.
True.
You know what I mean? Like, so Keratoba is like an easy thing for people to say. It kind of rolls off the tongue pretty easily. So that's just what it means. Like it means, black volcanic lake.
That's a great story.
So that's why so it's got a Sumatra seed Ecuador wrapper and Nicaraguan binders and some Nicaraguan and Dominican in the filler too.
Smoke's great. I smoked a few of them at the show.
Yeah.
They're fantastic.
Yeah. I thought it smoked really well too.
Yeah.
The funny story actually between that is like that was when we were working with Naxa on that too. And Gustavo kept sending us samples, and we wanted to get them done sooner than we were rushing with it a little bit because, our old friend David Garofalo and Ed Santamaria, two guys, I've been friends with them for like decades. Mm-hmm. They wanted to do like a kind of their Cigar Authority podcast and do like a soft launch of it through them, which, obviously we were happy,
It's a
very
great
pleased to
opportunity.
do it.
Sure.
So we were trying to get it in on time. And so I remember during Christmas, Gustavo sent me like 4 different kind of final samples after we smoked the first round.
Mm-hmm.
And each cigar was covered with craft paper. And I think he might have sent me like 5 of each, of like kind of after, many discussions, like what kind of direction we wanted to go in. And I took him with me. Again, I was going with Brian in Houston. And we smoked this one actually we smoked this one, first. Then I got in the car and I was driving with him, and I didn't have much to eat. I was drinking a lot of water, but like the sun was in my eyes. He was like kind of going through this overpass in Houston. I smoked the second blend, and then I started to feel like this wave come over me, but not a good wave, a bad wave. And I was like, pull over. So he pulled over in like a PF Chang slot, and I got sick. That was the one. And then the next day I was like, is that just because I was like the circumstance? So then I had a big breakfast. I went to Joseph's in Richmond, and I sat down with Jerry over there, who's a great guy. And then Michael came. Michael didn't smoke one, but I gave one to Jerry, and also like his the person that helps him. Her name escapes me right now, but we smoked it together, and I warned him, and then he started smoking, and he's like, yeah, this is it has like a sneaky strength.
I remember you coming back and telling me this story, and then you gave me one of those.
I did.
I was actually nervous to smoke it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to smoke another one. I'm like, we're not doing this.
You're like, it wasn't just me. Like, I had other people get sick on this thing.
Yeah.
I was like, and then it became like the food challenge or something. Like, I got to do this. I got to see what happens. I was nervous smoking that cigar.
But you didn't get sick.
No, I did not get sick.
I mean, I didn't smoke it again, and then we started talking about it, and Gustavo thought it was maybe like a combination of the
Brian's driving and
no. Actually, he thought it was maybe a combination of the Sumatra Ecuador wrapper with this specific Mexican binder that he used. May have been like the combination that was like tough.
It was a good cigar. It wasn't as good as this blend. This blend was really on point. This blend the final one that you went with.
Then there was another one that you weren't there the day, and I had to like decide that day. It was Monday. You were not in, and I forgot why, but then I like left him on your desk. I'm like, okay, it's between these two. Try them, and then I liked number one. It was number one and number 3, and then of course you came back. You're like, I think number 3 is interesting. I'm like, dang it, I already chose number 1.
So there's a bundle now on your desk that you said was like the stronger, amped up version, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
You weren't in the other day and last week, and I actually smoked that one. I'm like, no. You made the right call.
Really?
Yeah, I did not. It was just aggressive. It didn't really have a lot of character to it, in my opinion. It wasn't that good. This is way better to me. I thought it was just.
Well, I was pleased with it because what got me nervous about it is that I was on Cigar Authority.
Yeah.
And they had this version of this again without band, and each one of those customers that signed up for that promotion they did got the cigars wrapped in the craft paper with no bands. And they smoked them, and they said, I'll talk about the strength. And they were saying, oh, I think it's on a scale of 1 to 10, a 5. And I was like, a 5? I'm like, I don't want it to be a 5. And then David thought it was like more like a 7. I'm like, well, that's what I feel like. It's more like a 7 than a 5. But then they were like, oh, David ranks everything like higher than it should be from a strength standpoint. And I'm like, well, I think he's actually right.
It's all subjective, though. Like what's strong one guy is medium to another guy is full to this guy. It's just like.
Some of these cigars it goes back to this conversation, we probably had it before. Some of these cigars that you smoke and then the carbon ring is like bigger. I mean, it tastes raw. Yeah, it's under fermented. Yeah. So many of these cigars that I smoke, and I buy them when I'm with like the guys out in the field. I smoked 2 yesterday that I bought when I was in the field. And one of them I thought was clearly under fermented. It's supposed to be strong. You know?
Well, yeah. If you under ferment it and don't process the tobacco, it's going to be strong. It's going to hit you with a lot of
raw, and it wasn't like great.
That's the domestic palate, though. For whatever reason, there's a lot of guys that want to break out in beads of sweat when they're smoking. Oh, this is a great cigar. If I go back to George Brightman, or my guru, mentor, or whatever, he always told me, like, dude, guess what? He always says like cigars should be a pleasure to smoke, not a challenge. You know what I mean? Always that always stuck with me. It's like it should enhance your experience and you should enjoy it, not like, So to me, it's like a difference. I don't drink anymore, but like, do you want to sip on a nice spirit or a glass of wine, or do you want to do a shot?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just, you know
yeah.
what I mean? That's what I always
Yeah.
equate it to. It's like if you just want to get hammered, do a shot. But if you want to enjoy something, it should have balance and complexity and nuance and not be
Well,
overly
and
aggressive.
then oddly, so yesterday it was dumping rain in Nashville, so I was like, I came in here, I'm like, all right. So I had those two cigars I got when I was recently in the field, and then one of the guys that I did an event with, a consumer, really nice. He gave me a Partagas Lusitania
Oh wow.
Cuban.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I was like, I mean, it's a
It's like a
long
Churchill.
cigar,
It's like a
right?
Churchill, yeah.
So I cut
Great
it,
cigar.
look forward to smoking it. I lit it up with our handy dandy new kind of Zippos here.
Plug.
I have like right,
Vicks. Vic Life.
Vic lighters.
Yes.
You know. So
Keep
I lit it up, and then I swear to God, I could not draw on it, and I was
It
like,
was
okay,
plugged.
it was plugged, dude. It felt like a rock, like maybe a third down. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna like stick with it, massage it, try to get. Dude, it was like unsmokable.
Yeah, of course. That's
And it was just such a shame, right?
It is a shame.
because actually, I get it with the flavor of the Cuban tobacco. It has this like savory kind of flavor to
Yeah.
it, which obviously you're getting from like the soil. So that kind of savory, almost like stewed meat kind of quality, I thought was quite nice.
then
But
you
I
just can't
couldn't
draw
draw on it, so like I had to.
it's like
I
a
had to-
tease.
I had to give up on it.
It's like having the best milkshake and the straw's too small and you can't get anything out. And you're like,
I
I
mean-
know it tastes really good, but I just can't get anything out of it.
There
That
should be
sucks.
no excuse. There should be no excuse for that in my
No,
mind.
not in this day and
right?
age.
I mean-
with quality control. But I think, I'm not trying to slam Cuba because when they're on, and it's really great and they invented the wheel. However, their quality control isn't where it needs to be.
Yeah, but if somebody's going to be paying, I mean, I don't know what this gentleman paid for that. You know what I mean? But if someone's going to pay that amount, I mean, come on, that can't happen.
I would agree.
Remember when I remember there was a retailer friend of mine, Jim Bennington, who had he invented this draw poker thing
Mm-hmm.
that almost looked like you would set the cigar. Well, you actually was a poker that would poke through the cigars. You'd get. I mean, I was like, I wish I had one of those draw pokers so I could.
There's some
Go through
factories
this
in,
thing.
in Central America that draw test every cigar.
Well, we did that. Remember at
Back in
CAO,
the
we
days,
draw
yeah.
tested every single cigar. We insisted it on being the case, and I'm like, that's kind of like people say, why do you like the box press? And I always think that it's a insurance policy for a good draw because like we discussed before, you have a round cigar and you're going to press it. It has to be supple enough to have a give, so it's not overpacked, so that the
Mhm.
wrapper doesn't crack when you're pressing it. You're applying pressure to it. So actually, that's why I like box press. I mean, there's some people
That's
like
like
we
the
were
shit.
sitting with our buddy Rene Girard last week, and
Yeah,
Rene,
he's just like, I don't like box
Rene
press. I'm
doesn't Rene likes round cigars, but he said he didn't mind the soft press, which is the soft press, so because then he can formulate it. I mean, it can turn round, but I mean, that didn't bother me. I mean, I like box
I
press.
told him, so what, you don't like Padrones then? He's like, well, I sell a lot of Padrones. I don't smoke them though. I was just laughing. I was like, yeah, I like box press, man. It's to me, it's a very divisive thing in our industry. Like it's either people really like them or they don't like them at all.
I don't see
But for
why
me,
why that's the case.
I don't either.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
I like box
why,
press.
why?
I like
you know.
box press as long as it's not like that quadrado, like 90-degree angle sharp.
Yeah.
I don't dig that, but this is really nice.
Mm-hmm.
This is really super nice. I love it. I love it. I love the look. I love the, what do you call that color? Bronze or copper? That accent.
I think it's probably more like a copper
Yeah, I
color to
think
me.
it's
I
elegant
don't know.
looking.
I might be kind of colorblind to the.
And what sizes are those coming in? Because you got four
Yeah,
in your
so
range.
we have 4 sizes. We have a 5x52 Robusto. My favorite size is a 5.5 by 55,
Mhm.
which in this
You've
one,
had that in every line so far.
Yeah, mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I like how that
that's a
smokes. I
constant.
like how it's like when it's pressed and you cut it, it's like taking a butter knife and spreading the flavor across your palate. You get it on all corners of your palate right away. So I like that size best. The other one we had is more like a classic Toro that's like 6.5 instead of 6 by 50,
Mhm.
and then a 6 by 60 just because
Gordo.
6 by 60s have become more like a popular size nowadays in Gordo. So
That's
Yeah,
like a
this one over
mainstay
here.
now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like Robusto, Toro, Gordo.
the other thing is people like even 7 by 70s. You know what I mean?
I won't even go to 660, but 770 is like a gimmick.
Well,
it's
six,
like a joke.
six. Well,
in my
I mean,
opinion, I just
don't
can't
know.
do it. I can't
I
do
mean,
it. Can't do it.
I don't know. A lot of people like them. I guess it depends on like where you go to. And
I was
what they
talking to
like.
somebody at the show, and this topic came up, and they were saying that they had a conversation with Lito Gomez, La Flor Dominicana. They asked Lito what his best-selling SKU was, and you would have thought it was like the Chisel or this, whatever, the Andalusian Bull or whatever, the Digger, which is an 8x80, and that is his best-selling SKU. It sells more than anything else. 8x80. I mean, I couldn't even imagine, dude. It's just like,
The Digger.
the Digger.
Why
Yeah.
the Digger? Do you think 8x80?
I don't know. I don't know what the story behind it is. I was a digger this
because
weekend, man.
he's digging into the.
I had to
into
dig
the
3
earth,
massive holes and
digging into. You
print
know
some-
his sons want me to imitate him, and I'm like, I gotta watch Lido a bit more. I could do a good impression of Lido.
I haven't heard him speak enough, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but I mean, like you can Google it now. I mean, I can Google. I just need to do it. I mean, people ask me to do like Lido, and the sons are asking me to do like, can you please imitate our father? So I gotta like, maybe on one of these episodes, I'll have you like have cue cards, and you can just ask me. Who
I know my
impressions
favorite.
are.
My favorite is most people won't even know it because he's kind of that aged out or
Barani.
whatever. Barani, by far. But if anybody was around in the golden age of cigars,
Baba, I can't
Yes.
believe it. You are copying me like crazy. Look at this in the cabinet. I mean, all of it you learned from me, Tony
Oh, my
Baba. I
God.
mean, you're so full of crap. I can't believe it, Baba. Such a gentleman. Good to see you. Good to see you. Hello.
dead on, dead on. Oh my
he
god!
would be like, so like, he's like, yes, it's good to see you. And then somebody would come in like, hello. What
Yeah.
the hell do you want?
Yeah. like motherfucker. Like, yeah, totally. It was
I told you son of a bitch. Go screw yourself. Sorry, that was my daughter. She's such a sweetheart.
Oh my god. Oh, that dude. Yeah, that's all my all-time favorite. But there's so many of them though. Rocky.
Look at this, creamy, buttery, espresso, chocolate, bell pepper, red pepper, green pepper, blue pepper, yellow pepper, nutty, buttery, creamy.
Oh my god.
Every adjective possible he would name describing a cigar. He's one of my really good buddies, though. So I mean, I could.
Dude, I remember that guy from way back. Way
Yeah.
back.
Well, we'll have to do that one of these episodes. I did this thing at Cigars International back in the day where they made me like get on the phone and like
I remember you telling me that.
the phone,
Yes.
like as if I'm one of these characters.
Perdomo.
Yeah, let me tell you something.
Yeah.
The cigars are excellent. I can't keep my hand up for 1 second because my watch is too heavy.
And it's 1 of 10 made. Yeah.
One of 10.
1 of 10.
1 of 100.
Yeah.
At least he probably has 250 watches.
No, I'm talking about the specific model. Like I remember geeking
yeah,
out on a watch he had
yeah,
one time years ago, and he said, "Yeah, this is 1 of 23."
Yeah, some of these people, they're like, that people don't know them anymore. Like,
I know.
they had me do Carlos Durano or something, and they don't.
Different age now. You got to get a new crop.
Yeah, I got to find like the new guys.
You got to like people would like Saka or Skip Martin or it's just. But there's
I know. They're just.
There aren't as many characters as there were back in the day. Back in the day, there were more like characters that were like larger than life that had specific nuances and inflections the way they talk. Now it's just kind of like.
I feel like there's some characters I just need to like hop on YouTube and like find out who they are and like study them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You could do it.
So I don't know.
Sock would be good.
Yeah.
Sock
Again, I haven't watched him enough or I haven't hung out with him enough to be able to pick up.
It was like I said, I didn't see anybody at the show this year at all, which is really weird. The only people I got to see were like the Garcias because we had a meeting and they were right across the booth, and then Ernie and Ernie Jr. because they were right next to us. Other than that, it was just like, man, I didn't even know what else was going on. It was such a whirlwind. It was crazy, but it was crazy in a good way, in a really, really good way. Now we got to get all this stuff in on the shelves, which I believe everything that everybody's looking at here is going to be shipping end of May, which is right around the corner. And then the real work begins.
Yeah.
We'll see. I told Miguel it was more this year more than any other year. It was more like planting seeds in the show. And you don't know what the fruit's going to look like on the tree for another 3 or 4 months.
Also the other thing we didn't discuss was that we had a bit change in kind of internal leadership and structure here. So
Have we not talked about that?
I don't think we did.
We haven't
No,
talked-
we didn't
oh,
talk
man.
about that.
Oh, Mike's gone.
So
Anyway,
no, but I mean,
so-
like you're the El Presidente now.
You're the LCEO.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So
No,
it's and then some people are like, oh, it's bringing back a lot of the same guys.
I
from
would listen.
CAO,
Not
but
for
I mean,
nothing. There was definitely a different energy in our booth this year. I felt it.
Oh yeah,
Definitely. It was just a different buzz, a different energy. It felt good. It felt right. It was just like, yeah, you know.
yeah. I mean, look, I think that we all like know one another so well, especially like me, you, Adam, Miguel, Brian. You know that there's kind of like a feels like a family. You know,
It is. I mean,
right?
we've all known each other longer than our wives for that.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah,
It's like we've been working together since late 90s, bro.
The other thing that was cool about it is that like when we made that announcement, it kind of coincided with the change of look specifically around curved heads. I mean, OFC was tweaked too, yeah, but I mean, like, I thought that like that kind of
Kind of started a new chapter.
right. I mean, it
Yeah.
sort of felt like, oh, okay, look, what are the results? And even though this, you know, you make like, you know, these kind of subtle changes, but even though you make these subtle changes, they take longer than people think. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like when they say, oh, you're an overnight success, and it took 10 years
Yeah,
for you to become an
for
overnight
sure.
success, right? It's sort of like that.
no
But it was
question.
kind of nice that I don't think it was intentional when we kind of made the announcement,
No.
right? I mean, but it just sort of
In
like
fact,
kind
I
of
mean, Mike was,
well,
you know, part and parcel of this whole rebrand thing. We
Mhm.
started it all together. And for the most part, it was Mike and I and Juan Carlos on all the different Zooms and looking at the Hero logo and applications and
right.
blah, 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 blah. So, you know, it was good. I'm sorry that he didn't get to see it all come to fruition. Not like he's dead or anything. He's still alive.
No. He's
He
still
just-
like,
yeah,
he's
he's-
still consulting with us like he did before
Yeah.
at CAO. So again, very, very similar circumstances, but
Exactly.
you know,
So, but yeah, it's
a new kind of, a new sort of chapter and page. But I think everybody's excited about it. Like you said, the vibe was really good and
vibe was
positive.
really good, very
you know,
positive.
so-
And then the response to the rebrand was really good. So yeah, a lot of exciting stuff
Yeah.
to come.
So that's good. And we'll talk about
Yeah,
more stuff.
for sure.
in the
What was
future.
we'll close out on this. What was your favorite moment of the PCA 2025? We'll close on that. If you had to pick one.
Well, I don't know. I mean, like, I really liked our, we had our team dinner. I liked our team dinner that we had after.
That
I
was
thought
good.
that, you know, room that we had it in felt nice, and it felt like very like much like a cozy family atmosphere. And,
Yep.
you know, I thought that the gag gifts were like well received, you know, funny. So we try to get gag gifts for like people based on like their kind of idiosyncrasies and nuances. So like, you know, Brian McGee, who I got in his car, I was wearing like this, like all black, and he had German Shepherd fur all over the place. I can't believe he said I only had 3 furs.
Yeah,
Is
3
anybody
hairs. There's
that's-
only 3 hairs.
Anybody that has a German Shepherd, is there ever any like really 3 hairs that German Shepherds shed?
He's
Never.
either got to get a different dog or a leather interior
He
in
has
his car.
2 German Shepherds. He picks me up. It's dumping rain. He cannot hold on to the steering wheel normally because one of the German Shepherds, that's huge, by the way, was a puppy and pulled him. And he fell down. Brian's a big guy. He fell down and he used his hands to brace his fall. So both of his wrists he had wrapped.
Oh, Jesus.
And he couldn't hold on to it. And he picks his dumping rain. And I get in the car and I open the car and it's filled with like coffee stains and German Shepherd fur. And meanwhile, I got like a black t-shirt, black pants. And I'm like, what the hell, man? You didn't tell me to bring a lint roller on this thing. I mean, I'm like walking into these stores looking like, you know, looking like my wife's purse from like with fur all over the place. And I'm like, dude. So I got him this apron that said, and he also likes to do these events where he like shows up and he like cooks steaks with like a whole barbecue grill. I mean, he's a very good, you know, he's a very good griller, right?
He is.
And so then I got him an apron that said, the secret is in the dog hair.
That was
The
classic.
secret ingredient is dog hair.
Oh, my God.
Then I got Miguel Montañez, who's like in represents us in like New York, like in some part of PA.
Loud and boisterous.
Loud and boisterous
Great
guys.
guy.
Yo, man, yo, yo, yo. And he's always like singing.
Mhm.
And like I got him like one of those microphones, those karaoke mics.
He was in love with
He
that
loved
thing,
it.
man.
I mean,
Oh
that
my
was
God.
like I gave him crack for some reason. I mean,
He
like he
wouldn't put the
couldn't
thing
put it
down. He kept walking and
Yeah, I
talking
mean,
with
like,
that thing
he
for
became
the
an
whole
immediate
night.
talk show.
Oh, it was great.
And then Danny, I got those
The little tiny
PK,
Air
the little
ones.
tiny Air Jordans.
Yeah, the little Air Force
That
Ones.
actually had real laces on them. I had
Yeah.
no idea.
I didn't either. He does wear those all the time, though.
Yeah.
He must have like 10 pairs of those
And of
things.
course Miguel, but his legendary
Yeah, we won't go into that.
hour-long showers.
I
I had to get
don't
him
want to
a,
out him on the air about like.
We already talked about it.
Did we
before.
talk about his
We
showers?
talked
His
about the
epically
showers that
long
he did.
showers?
Epically long showers. I got him a koozie that he could like plastic koozie.
He used it because he sent everybody a
used it
group
as
text. And he's like the picture.
suction cup that he could put his Coke Zeros in there. We gave him some gummy bears.
Yep,
Gummy bears didn't even last the whole dinner. He ate the gummy bears before the. Did you notice that?
I didn't.
He opened the gummy bears and ate them all before dessert.
Good times. Good times.
Anyway, it was fun.
Right on. Well, I guess that's it. Are we
That's it.
good on time? Yeah, let's wrap it up until the next one on 24. Keep smoking Crown Heads. Keep smoking Oz Family cigars. And have
Cheers.
the best day of your life. Cheers.